Did you guys hear the news? Marvel Studios told Sony that despite them wanting to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, they're not allowed. So if you're mad about not getting The Amazing Spider-Man 3 in the last decade, it's all Marvel Studios' fault. Because people are going to believe this because they're dumb. Well guys, it's time to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 3. So, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is not happening. We know this for a fact. But there's been some reports that Sony did want to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and that they were told no by Marvel Studios. That's the latest update. So, I want to look at this with a rational human brain, because I think anybody with a brain can figure out that this is all nonsense. Let's put it that way. So let's go over the facts. Did Sony want to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4? Yes, of course they did. They literally announced both of them with release dates. So we're not going to dispute that. Nobody's going to debunk that and say that's not true. So what happened was obviously that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a failure at the box office and reception with the budget it had, and the merchandise sales sinking, and the reception from critics and fans was not there. So they made the decision to cancel the franchise. Marvel stepped in and got the deal to make the Spider-Man reboot in the MCU and debuted Spider-Man in Civil War. This is all fact. Now, recent reports have suggested that Sony since then has wanted to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, but Marvel Studios kept saying no. Okay, so some people are now getting upset over this. Guys, why are you being upset over something that's not true? First and foremost, the film license, from what we know for the contract, is that Sony will let Marvel Studios use Spider-Man, and there can only be one live-action iteration of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, in live-action, and that's the one that's contracted to Marvel Studios. They did the multiverse thing with an agreement from everybody that's been involved with the other two franchises. We know this for a fact as well. Sony would not and cannot make The Amazing Spider-Man 3 because, one, it would be a money-losing proposition. Two, it then further makes the whole idea of Spider-Man devalued because you're having two competing live-action versions on at the same time, and marketing money and marketing awareness and production lines need about 1.5 to 2 years for everything to spin up. So they would essentially be fighting themselves for their own money and profits. 3, Marvel Studios can't say no to them. Sony owns the property. So if Sony wanted to, they could go, well, we're going to do it. But again, what's in the contract with Marvel? That they combined work on this Spider-Man. Sony could make an Amazing Spider-Man 3 if they wanted to, but chances are that they would have to pull out the MCU Spider-Man from the MCU, Tom Holland Spider-Man, and do their own thing. So why would they then cancel a surefire thing and their biggest Spider-Man franchise ever in favor of going back to the franchise that tanked the studio? You guys see what I'm saying? Even if Sony was to say, no, we're not going to continue the Tom Holland Spider-Man, that would be the most idiotic move, because they wouldn't do that. Because we know when they decided to take Spider-Man out of the MCU, like well over 5 years ago, that the intent was to continue using Tom Holland. So all these recent reports and fear-mongering that Marvel Studios said no, that Sony was going to do it till the MCU said you can't, we're not allowing you, and that's what some of the rivalry in the studio started over, is nonsense. Just think about this logically for a second. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.